In our number 10 spot, we have the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. This leaked secret got leaked all the way back in 1848 by a reporter named John Nugent. John published in the New York Herald an unsigned copy of this treaty, which would conclude the Mexican-American War. He published the entire thing, which included the negotiations for peace before they were settled or agreed upon. The United States Senate tried as hard as they could to get John to reveal his source, even going as far as to basically place him on a sort of house arrest, but he wouldn't crack. Investigations continued on for long after the leak, and it is widely believed that at the time, the Secretary of State James Buchanan, who would go on to become president a decade later, was the source of the leak, but this has never been proven. This was a very early demonstration and establishment of what goes on behind the scenes with politicians and the media.
Coming into number 9, we have the Silver Disc Over the Mountains. Sounds like a band name or a good album name. Further back, but clearly in the same sort of area topography speaking, I came across an image of a man taking a picture of a strange silver disc in the sky. The image is purportedly from Area 51, and it certainly looks like it could be. I'm aware that this image very much could be photoshopped, very easily photoshopped, but perhaps the story I have to tell you will inspire you to give it the benefit of the doubt. There is a road near Area 51 that has been renamed the Extraterrestrial Highway. It's a 100-mile stretch of State Route 375 near Rachel, Nevada. It was given its whimsical rebranding in 1996. Along this highway, countless people have reported seeing mysterious lights in the sky, especially during the 80s and 90s. Even today, night drivers are baffled by the so-called moving stars. Could it be a UFO similar to that allegedly in this picture? Maybe. But what might this be at number 8? We have what I can only describe as the metal wall. This image was posted in National Geographic and is a declassified image from Area 51. The footnote on the image reads, "Full-scale model assembly 1159. Now this leads me to believe that this image was taken in November 1959, but honestly, I don't know that for a fact. Although the image is in black and white, which does make me think it's an oldie. While it may be an oldie, it certainly does look futuristic. This could be an early stage development of a spy plane. In fact, I'd put my money on it. Coming into number 7, we have Beam. We on a ultralight beam, we on a ultralight beam. Honestly, sometimes I do stop to wonder if Kanye West is an alien. Like, he's pretty successful whilst also being a bit strange and aloof and otherworldly. I don't want to be the one to start an unsubstantiated rumour though. Anyway, before we stray too far into salacious speculation, have a look at this ultralight beam legit image taken at Area 51, and I want to know what's going on here, and is Kanye West behind it? This black and white image was published as part of a series of declassified images of Area 51 published in National Geographic. Again, context is king, but we simply don't have any. It's hard to tell if this image was taken outdoors. It's kind of blurry and distorted from the light. It could be taken outdoors, but also that could be a curtain backdrop. I just can't tell. If it is a curtain, then perhaps this was taken in a studio, in which case what Hollywood grade stuff is being filmed at Area 51. Some people think that the moon landing was staged there, and if this is a studio with a massive model UFO, then maybe. I think I simply need more information. Coming into number 6, we have the floaters. Doesn't sound great, does it? In April 2016, large, bizarre, and very much unidentified flying objects were spotted over Area 51. Allegedly, anyway. There are so many fakers and conspiracists out there that it's hard to know what to believe. 3 oblong objects were said to have been caught on film from a distance hovering over a hangar. The footage was uploaded to YouTube but has mysteriously been deleted. A still shot of the video, however, does remain. Why was the YouTube video deleted? Did we see too much? Maybe. The real question though is, what are these? Coming in at number 5, is that the Tardis I see? The Doctor is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey, and he is constantly time travelling. The Doctor is a Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey, and he's constantly travelling time and space and encountering other aliens, so it stands to reason that the extraterrestrial may end up at Area 51 at some point. It seems like his TARDIS may have been spotted there in recent years. Have a look at this. Some are hailing this image taken of Area 51 legit, and actually it was taken on Google Earth. Some people think it looks like an alien tower, but others like me are straight up calling it a triangle TARDIS. You can find this image yourself if you type this into Google Earth. On estimation, this structure is around 70 feet high and 30 feet wide, and I'm wondering if, Doctor, maybe you're there. Some of the Storm Area 51 memes have been claiming ownership of the Tardis if it's found there, and to be honest, it has been rumoured that the centre is testing time travel, so maybe the Doctor has been captured there, or at least his spaceship. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I've always wanted to be a doctor's assistant, so if anyone's watching from casting at BBC, take me! Coming in at number 4, we have the pyramid. There are pretty nuts theories out there circulating that aliens built the pyramids. Why? Well, because it would be a feat of strength for humans even today, let alone humans of thousands of years ago. Allegedly, former Area 51 worker Bob Lazar claimed that the building contains evidence that aliens have influenced human culture for over 10,000 years, so maybe it's true. Triangles and pyramid shapes are also linked to New World Orders, and the Illuminati have also in turn been linked to extraterrestrials, so maybe there's something to it. Either way, feast your eyes on this.
Pyramid. This is from Google Earth. You can look it up yourself. You just look up the coordinates.
A Google Earth image of what looks like a pyramid inside Area 51, right here. Curiouser and curiouser. For those of you who want to look at this yourself, put these coordinates into Google Earth. Some people think that this is proof that Area 51 is harvesting alien technology. Other people think that the structure has a much more normal explanation. What do you think? Let me know. Some classic Area 51 conclusion stuff here at number 3, we have the Morgue. Of all of the pictures on this list, of this one I am perhaps the most skeptical, but it is a true classic. This is one of those proof of aliens for reals images circulated in the 1990s. It's kind of a lot like the alien autopsy video. This image was said to have been taken by a whistleblowing worker of Area 51 and leaked to the press. The only thing is that alien bodies like this are so easy to fake. In fact, even the alien in the alien autopsy video was a model, so these very well could be too. Creepy models that I wouldn't want anywhere near me. Still though, the image could have been staged and taken anywhere in the world, and honestly, it probably was. That being said, maybe it's legit. Maybe we're trained not to believe in things like this by the powers that be that don't want us to. Coming into number 2, we have the Silver Pod. YouTube channel Explore With Us ventured to the land surrounding Area 51 in June 2017. The channel shared exclusive footage with their 700,000 strong following, which claimed to show abandoned secret tunnels around Area 51, which looked something like this. Weird. To me that looks like an old sneaky cheeky secret rail tunnel, and I'm wondering what it was used for, like smuggling aliens in and out? Later on in their adventure, the YouTubers also spotted this very odd sight hidden in the trees. Take a look. To me it looks like a silver ball on a triangular plinth. Also, it's in the hills surrounding a top secret facility. What does this really mean? Is it some kind of alien communication device, or watching device, or listening device? So many devices it could be. Okay, finally, do you want to see a very scary sight from Area 51? Check this out at number 1, and perhaps let it be a warning. We have the bikers.
Centimeters?
I knew you should. I know.
Listen, we're gonna give you guys a chance, okay? Get on your bikes, get the out of here. We'll call Lincoln County, and they'll write you each a $750 ticket.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if you just rolled up at Area 51 and tried to see them aliens? Perhaps a little precursor to the whole Storm Area 51 thing. I wouldn't recommend it for this very reason. Meet the bikers, who were about to be met with bullets, but made a very lucky escape. Dramatic footage was uploaded to YouTube of a biker group who rode up to Area 51, kinda brazenly. As you can see from these images, they were met with quote-unquote camo dudes. The camo dudes come from nowhere in a white jeep and quickly jump out and point firearms at the intruders. The guards tell the guys to get the F out of there. The video from MacD Adventures has had over 7 million views, people love it. This isn't the only instance of this kind of response caught on camera either. YouTube channel Third Phase of the Moon uploaded this video featuring this hairy moment. So that's the response that people get when it's just a few of them swinging by Area 51. What if 3 million people did turn up and quote-unquote storm it? I mean, if you're gonna have guns pointed at just a handful of people, what? would the government do? Honestly, it's a question that I'm not sure we want answered. So guys, I hope you liked the top 10 scary pictures from Area 51 Part 2. Let me know what you thought. Do you think any of these are fake? If so, do let me know in the comments section down below. Also, don't forget to let me know what colour you think aliens are, if they have one colour. And I don't know, if you could draw me a comment, then you could show me what you think they look like, but you can't, so you can use an emoji array. Make sure you leave a big old thumbs up on this video, leave a comment, check out our Instagrams, which are all linked in the description box along with our sources. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and I'll see you soon. Bye! Alright, coming in at number 10, we have the Blastoff chair. This is officially a declassified black and white image of a secret Air Force project taking place in the desert lands surrounding Area 51. In this image, we can see the United States Air Force running a very exciting test indeed. We see a car and an aerodynamic looking vehicle together, and then a whopping great chair that seems to have blasted off with a person in it. Maybe it's a dummy. Up and away. The plane-like vehicle says Test 24 on it and has a camera monitoring it. We don't know exactly what's happening here. I think context, I imagine, would be key, but we don't have any. If you think that mountain range looks familiar, here it is again at number 9.
In our 9th spot, we have Trump's dirty laundry, and I don't mean like literally his stinky socks and undies. In May of 2020, Anonymous came after Trump during his presidency. This happened when Trump threatened to deploy his military force against the protesters. But Anonymous was like, nah, honey, you aren't doing that, and said they had dirt on him. They said that they would publish his dirty laundry. A couple of days later, they published 169 emails that mentioned Trump one way or another. Now, most of the emails weren't even bad, but it was just a scare tactic to show Trump, like, hey, we're not bluffing, okay? We got dirt on you. More on this in my next point. Coming in at number 8, we have Trump's connection to Jeffrey Epstein. So like I said, Anonymous leaked some emails about Trump. Well, they also threatened to release information connecting Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Trump and Epstein have been photographed together on a number of occasions. Apparently, they also have hung out with each other too. Some believe that Trump was a part of Epstein's ring and also exploited young females. And Anonymous apparently has proof, including access to Epstein's address book and old court documents. Technically, I'm cheating with this point since they didn't leak this information, but they did expose that they have this information. In our 7th spot, we have the Brazilian government. In June of 2020, Anonymous released personal information on the Brazilian president and his family and cabinet. This caused a lot of chaos. The federal police and the Brazilian Congress began to investigate. In the end, it was revealed that the federal government used $2 million of the public's money to fund advertising on several websites. Most of the websites supported the president, which makes sense as to why they wanted to put money into them. Not only that, but Anonymous leaked a number of government officials' addresses, income, and other personal information. The personal addresses were a very serious issue because it puts them at risk for attacks. Moving on, at number 6, we have CSIS documents. So what I didn't know is that apparently Anonymous has some beef with the Canadian government. One of their first attacks leaked secrets about the foreign activities of the Canadian Secret Intelligence Service, aka the CSIS. It released information about the size of their network, what information they have access to, along with other sensitive government documents. The Canadian government has only admitted to having foreign stations in Washington, London, and Paris. But according to the documents leaked, they have over 25 foreign stations. And I quote, many of which are located in developing countries and/or unstable environments. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the secret federal document. In another attack against Canada, Anonymous leaked top secret documents outlining the redevelopment of Canada's key diplomatic centers in Britain, including selling, relocating, and refurbishing Canada's diplomatic buildings in London. Now, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's the fact that they got a hold of these top secret documents that's concerning. The documents were marked as confidence of the Queen's Privy Council,
which basically means that it's top secret and private documents. Therefore, the government of Canada is looking into its own people to see if someone among them is leaking these documents to Anonymous, or maybe they're a part of Anonymous. In our fourth spot, we have the #OpsWakeUp21. In January of 2021, Anonymous attacked the government of Malaysia. They defaced 17 government and university websites. This was part of their campaign called #OpsWakeUp21. Basically, the purpose of this campaign was to highlight the poor security of the government's websites and to warn people about it. In a post, they said, and I quote, "Greetings, we are Anonymous Malaysia. This is message to Government Malaysia. Your security system is low. All data may be leaked. This can cause unwanted hackers selling all your information." Basically, they accused the government for keeping silent and covering up a number of data breaches that occurred over the years. The government knew that personal information of their citizens was being obtained and sold, and they just kinda covered it up until Anonymous exposed them. Coming in at number 3, we have Anonymous Malaysia Part 2. During the Anonymous Malaysia attack, they also revealed that Facebook was selling private information to government agencies. In a post, Anonymous said, and I quote, "If you're a hacktivist willing to, or a man who just wants to protect his freedom of information and join the cause, and kill Facebook for your own privacy. Facebook has sold information to government agencies and gave secret access to information security firms so they can spy on people from around the world. You can't hide from reality where you are. You're neither safe from any government. Someday you'll look back on this and realize what we've done here is right. You'll thank the internet government. We will not harm you, but we will save you." Okay guys, it is time to deactivate Facebook. Nice. Coming in at number 2, we have Epic. In September of 2021, Anonymous leaked data from Epic, which is basically a domain registrar and a web hosting company that has provided service to websites that publish neo-Nazi and extremist content. It's a pretty controversial platform, and Anonymous leaked details of every domain that was ever hosted or registered through them. It also leaked a number of personal information of their customers, like their purchase records, emails, invoices, and credit card information. Over 15 million email addresses were exposed. In fact, they released 3 rounds of data on their website. The first was in February of 2021, the second in September, and the third in October. In October, they actually leaked information on documents belonging to the Texas Republican Party. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the NSA. So thanks to Edward Snowden, we all know that the NSA was spying on Americans through their phone records. Well, Anonymous just exposed the existence of a secret NSA and FBI program called Prism. This program allows the NSA and FBI to take photos, videos, emails, and chats from the servers of 9 different internet companies, including Microsoft, Facebook, Google, and Apple. Anonymous leaked 13 huge documents about this program, and it revealed that the NSA is not only spying on Americans, but also citizens of over 35 different countries as well. Anonymous said, and I quote, "We bring this to you so that you know just how little rights you have. Your privacy and freedoms are slowly being taken away from you in closed-doors meetings, in laws buried in bills, and by people who are supposed to be protecting you." Starting off this countdown, we have the Blue Leaks. In June of 2020, following the killing of George Floyd and the protests, Anonymous leaked hundreds of gigabytes of law enforcement files. It has been named the Blue Leaks. Over 269 gigabytes of data were taken from over 200 law enforcement agencies. This included emails, audio recordings, videos, and documents. In total, there were millions of files leaked. Some of the leaked documents show that the FBI was monitoring the social media accounts of protesters, and they were also alerting local law enforcement about anti-police messages. Other documents showed that the FBI was tracking Bitcoin donations to protest groups, as well as highlighted some scandals and police misconduct.
In our number 9 spot today, we have the Paradise Papers. After being taken from the offshore law firm Appleby and being leaked by a South German newspaper, these documents would reveal the nearly $10 trillion that were put into offshore investments which were intended to hide the wealth and profit of many individuals, as well as to avoid taxes. Among those listed in the documents are Queen Elizabeth II, former US Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, along with Facebook and Nike. This is just a few that are named on the 13.4 million confidential documents. There are many shocking revelations within these documents, including some that might allude to some other, even more shady dealings. Some of these documents were first released into the public domain on November 5th, 2017, and ever since then, more stories have been coming out as people continue to comb through the mass amount of documents. For some of those involved in the stories that have been released, there have been scandal, litigation, and loss of position for some of those named, as well as litigation against some of the journalists and the media who leaked the stories and published the papers. In our number 8 spot today, we have caller information. This is just one part of the many things that were leaked by Edward Snowden back in 2013. In that year, it was reported by The Guardian that, according to the documents that were leaked by him, the Obama administration has allowed the NSA to collect different caller information from Verizon. This was done through what was called a quote business records provision of the Patriot Act that was established under the presidency of George W. Bush. It allowed the government to order Verizon to hand over call information every day. This information included things like the time, location, and the duration of the call. The information began being collected under the Bush administration in 2001, and they were collected from AT&T, Verizon, and Bell South. Of course, once these documents were leaked and this information became public knowledge, US officials began trying to reassure the public that this surveillance was somehow necessary and was actually a program vital to national security, but many people felt like the spying was an unnecessary invasion of their privacy. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Pentagon Papers. In June of 1971, the New York Times published a few different excerpts that were taken from a top secret Department of Defense report that pertained to the United States and their involvement in the Vietnam War from 1945 to 1967. These papers were created as a part of a study by the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, and the reason they were so important and secret is because they revealed that 4 consecutive presidential administrations had lied to and misled both Congress as well as the American people about the involvement in the war. Daniel Ellsberg, who is said to have been a military analyst who opposed the war, leaked these confidential government records, and him, as well as the New York Times and the Washington Post, all faced criminal charges in court for their efforts to get the papers into public knowledge, but in a turn of events, the charges were later dismissed. Not only were these papers important, but the leak was a crucial moment in time because it bred major distrust in the United States government that would only go on to grow. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Iraq war logs. This is a leak that came in 2010 and it appeared on WikiLeaks. If unfamiliar, this was a website created by Julian Assange in 2006 with the goal of quote analysis and publication of large datasets of censored or otherwise restricted official materials involving war, spying, and corruption. With a description like that, you know this leak was a big one. So, on this site, there were leaks of around 400,000 different US military documents that were now accessible to the public, and within these documents, the details of the Iraqi civilian deaths, the horrible treatment of war prisoners, and Iran's involvement in the war all came to light. At the time, this was the largest US military leak ever, and it was a huge deal. However, prior to this leak being made public, the information was not organized or analyzed, which had many journalists calling it irresponsible. These documents had people worried because they suggested evidence that there were crimes being ignored and that deaths were being covered up with numbers being edited. To this day, many officials have condemned this leak, saying that it put people's lives at risk. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Panama Papers. Remember that German paper from the Paradise Paper leaks? Well, turns out they are very involved in the leaking of documents, as they also have a hand in this one. The International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, along with this German paper, released 11.5 million documents that detailed different offshore tax havens. The papers were shared with the newspaper anonymously, so it's not exactly known who the source of the leak is, but the newspaper needed a year in order to decipher the encrypted files they were given before they could be released to the public. In 2016, the papers were published, which showed some of the private financial information of different celebrities, politicians, as well as business leaders from around the globe. A lot of the information in the papers might have been interesting and eye-opening, but the majority of it wasn't illegal, just maybe a little shady. There were, however, 2 arrests that were made due to this leak, and they were for wire fraud, tax evasion, and for forming a criminal organization, and some of those involved in the arrests lost their businesses because of it. In our number 4 spot today, we have Prism. This is another one of the leaks that was made by Edward Snowden, and it involves a PowerPoint presentation, but this wasn't just my 6th grade PowerPoint on elephants, it was a presentation that involved the NSA. The slideshow was one that was used to help train intelligence personnel, and it detailed the United States and their involvement in a secret program called Prism. This program was the NSA's effort to collect a ton of data from internet companies. The data ranged from email content to search histories to file transfers. The reason this PowerPoint was so important is because it confirmed that the NSA had access to the servers of major US internet service providers like YouTube, Google, Skype, and Apple. Prism first began in 2007 with Microsoft and expanded to Apple in 2012. When leaked, Snowden warned that the extent of this data collection was a lot greater than the public even knew, and that it included what he called quote dangerous and quote criminal activities. This leak also coincided with a meeting between the Chinese President Xi Jinping and former US President Obama. The meeting was already heated as it was in relation to cyber spying between the 2 countries. The meeting was focused on the United States and their accusations against China, but after the leak, the US had little credibility left in the meeting. China was adamant that they too had been a subject of this data collection, and the EU countries were later brought into the mix, with European citizens beginning to fear that they were also being targeted. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Pandora Papers. One of the most recent leaks on this list today took place in October of 2021, and again involves the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Last year they had published the first leaks of what would end up being 12 million documents, which detailed the dealings of some of the world's wealthiest individuals, including political leaders. The papers revealed their secret offshore accounts that were being used in order to evade taxes, and the consortium has called their investigation into this the quote most expansive leak of tax haven files in history. In order for this to come to fruition, they needed the involvement of more than 600 journalists in 117 different countries, which of course makes it clear that many people had a hand in exposing the truth. This leak is said to have made public all the ways in which politics, business, and real estate are impacted by corruption. The leak went on to have quite an influence over the election in the Czech Republic, and it also left more people calling for the government to crack down on things like money laundering and tax evasion and all the other many sneaky ways people have found to hide their wealth. In our number 2 spot today, we have Operation Mincemeat. This one is different from most of the others on this list today, and that is because it was a planned leak that proved that not all leaks are truthful. This leak from the Allied forces during World War II, or really the operation itself, was basically to plant this fake top secret information on a body that just washed up on a beach on the coast of Spain. Basically, this information was intended to lead the into thinking that the Allies were going to invade Greece and Sardinia when the real plan was Italy. British intelligence officers knew they had work to do, and it involved inventing an entire fictional life for the body that was being planted on the beach. There was fake correspondence, and they even went as far as to have a photograph with a fake fiancé. When many people's lives are at risk, cutting corners is not the right idea. In the end, the plan fooled both Spanish authorities as well as German leaders in 1943, who sent all of their troops to Greece. While they did this, the Allied forces invaded Sicily. As the Axis powers began to lose in the Battle of Sicily, the Italian dictator Mussolini was dismissed as the prime minister and subsequently imprisoned. This remains one of the most interesting information leaks in history. In our number 1 spot today, we have Watergate. This is perhaps one of the largest scandals and leaks in history, especially in the history of the United States. In the middle of 1972, there were 5 men who were arrested for breaking into and subsequently trying to bug the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate hotel complex in Washington, D.C. As the year went on, the 1972 presidential election came closer, and there was an anonymous source who went by the name, quote, Deep Throat. Sorry, I can't change history, that's just the name. So this anonymous source fed information to Washington Post reporters Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward that, quote, the Watergate bugging incident stemmed from a massive campaign of political spying and sabotage conducted on behalf of President Nixon's re-election and directed by officials of the White House. Despite this information leak and it being reported in the news, Nixon was still re-elected, but he was also under some serious investigation. There was a series of Senate hearings, and the Senate even went on to create a special investigative committee. The hearings were broadcast nationwide, and they had witnesses testifying that Nixon had approved plans to cover up administration involvement in the break-in, and that there was a voice-activated taping system in the Oval Office. These hearings captured the attention of Americans everywhere for weeks, and in the end, the United States Supreme Court ruled that Nixon had to release these Oval Office tapes to government investigators, which then went on to reveal that he had not only attempted to cover up what went on, but he also later tried to use federal officials to deflect the investigation. Under the threat of an imminent impeachment, Nixon had no choice but to admit his guilt and resign, making him the only president to do so. His successor, Gerald Ford, ended up pardoning him, so he escaped prosecution, but there were 69 other people indicted, with 48 of them later being convicted. Remember that deep throat guy who spilled the information in the first place? Well, his identity remained a secret for 33 years until 2005, when former FBI agent Mark Felt revealed himself as the source. This is probably the biggest political scandal in US history, and it revealed corruption beyond what Americans at the time could believe. It truly changed the way people would look at government leaders forever.